In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the waters. We begin in chaos, a dark, deep, formless void, roiling waters, the very chaos of a storm at sea, a fearful chaos, a chaos of disorder and panic, the threat of shipwreck, of drowning. So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy. We end in chaos. The women at the tomb are stunned, upended, turned around. I actually imagine they dropped their spice jars and then the scent just roiled up around them like a chaos in front of the tomb. And when we think back over all the readings we just heard, there was a lot of chaos. Israel fears destruction by the Egyptians, saying, are there not enough graves in Egypt? That you have to bring us out to die here, and all the chaos of the army pursuing them. And the people in exile are told by Isaiah and Ezekiel that although they may be cut off from their land and living in a chaos of foreigners and chaotic beliefs and food and weirdness, God has not abandoned them. God has not left them. God's wind, God's breath will once again sweep over them and give them life. We listen to these stories year after year, not because they are fairy tales, where everything works out in the end, and the boy gets the girl, and the girl gets the boy, and then they get married, and then at the marriage they have bunnies as flower girls. You know, bunnies and rainbows and unicorns are really great when we need a comforting story. But the stories we hear tonight are comforting, but not because they're cute. We listen to these stories because they are chaotic, and our lives are chaotic. We live in a world that can be confusing and chaotic. Just as soon as everything seems set, something is upended. We lose a job, a loved one dies, sickness takes away the people we rely on, the neighborhood changes, a child leaves home. And through all of this, we strive to find meaning. We strive to follow a God who can surprise us with sudden feelings of closeness, but who also can seem so far away. A God who especially seems far away when things are chaotic, when things are full of terror and fear and amazement. The message of the empty tomb is that in the midst of chaos, God is not absent. Suddenly, Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." Just like that. Greetings. Just when all seems lost, God is standing there greeting us. The message of the empty tomb is that God is never absent. At the beginning of creation, when the earth was a formless void and darkness covered the face of the deep, God's breath, God's wind, the word and voice of God swept over the waters. And when the chaos was so bad that a loving, caring preacher from Galilee was killed for proclaiming God's love, God did not leave. God refused to leave. Creation is messy. Life is chaotic. And God can seem absent. God can seem like an empty tomb. But the hope of the empty tomb and a risen Christ is that when God's love is that God's love is not confined to the neat and tidy. God is not only present when things are decent and in a good order. God is present in the chaos. God is present in the stillness of an empty tomb. God is waiting for us when we are waiting to be greeted. God's life-giving power, a power so great that it overcomes the chaos, cannot be killed by the world and cannot be confined to the world. So let us be the women at the empty tomb. Let us step with confidence into a chaotic world. Let us embrace the chaos in our lives and in our communities, because God is in that chaos, transforming our lives and our communities. Let us be the healers, reconcilers, hope givers, and the Easter people, Chris, that we were created to be. Let us rush out of here tonight, each night, each Sunday, knowing that God is with us out there in the chaos. Let us be an Easter people, a people of courage and faith and hope in a world of chaos. Let our faith and joy show the world that Christ is risen. God is with us. This is a night